Hello, everybody, and welcome for another edition of the Rocky Top Roundtable. It is Missouri week, a huge game for Tennessee as they look to get win number 8 on the season before Georgia rolls into town next week. Guys, this is a game that you can bet Eli Drinkwitz has had circled for the last year or so. Last couple of years, actually.
Tennessee's obviously had their number robbed. They put up huge numbers offensively. Missouri's had a hard time stopping them. This is Missouri's best team that Eli Drinkwitz had. This is a big game for Missouri. I think the pressure falls on Missouri for this game, but this is certainly one that the Tigers are looking forward to.
I agree. I think they are feeling the pressure. I mean, it's been a good year it's been a great year for them, really, from where they've been, in the last decade. But they don't really have a win that has a lot of pop. I mean, they beat Kansas State. It was dramatic in the second week of the season. But to beat a ranked team that has really had your number for the last 2 years, I think that this would be a big one for Missouri.
Eric, you look at the last 2 years, Tennessee's put up 60+ against Missouri. And I made that comment when we were doing Ramon, Kayla, and Will earlier this week. I said, well, Missouri's got to prove that they can hold Tennessee under 60. And that was kind of a joke, but at the same time, it's not like Tennessee's done it with a whole bunch of big splash passing plays. They've done it running the football. 2 years ago in Columbia, they ran it up and down the field, on the ground.
In 2 games the last 2 years against Missouri, Tennessee has combined for 722 rushing yards. The game you're referencing, Austin, had 438 rushing yards. So, yeah, I mean, it was a lot of Tyon Evans, Jabari Small, Dylan Sampson a little bit, and of course now you got Jaylen Wright, who's having an incredible year. And I mean, that's what Tennessee wants to do. The passing game's come along. Joe Milton's playing efficient. The receivers are coming, but Tennessee has run the football all year long so efficiently. The number 1 rushing offense in the country, or in the SEC. And guys, I don't see that deviating from that game plan this weekend at Missouri.
I find it, to me, I'm not sure what to make of the Missouri ground game because LSU did whatever they wanted to do against them on the ground. So did Kentucky. But then they were pretty decent against Georgia in the run game. And they've had some other games where, they've given up 100 yards, Rob, but it's been 120. They haven't given up that massive amount of yards, with the exception really of Kentucky and LSU, but I still don't think that that's a great rush defense, right?
I'm with you, and a lot of the LSU was Jaden Daniels being Superman. I mean, and that's Tennessee really doesn't have that element, but that's not how Kentucky gashed them. And you're right, they held Georgia at under 4 yards a carry, 133 yards total. I mean, that was a big boy football game. Missouri went toe to toe with them, but Tennessee, no matter who they've lined up, Texas A&M had the best run defense in the SEC. Kentucky was second. When Tennessee has had success, against teams that statistically were a lot better than Missouri in this conference, and I'm with Eric. I don't see Missouri being able to change that.
Is this the week where we finally see Jaylen Wright get to 20 carries? I mean, every week you think it's going to happen, and every week Eric says, well, he won't average 10 yards a carry, and then he does it again. I think he watches you and just gets fuming.
To be clear, I said it one time this year, but he's having
Actually, I did think you said the first 2, and then after that.
Well, I mean, gosh,
who would have saw this? Nobody sees
when he's getting 9 carries a game, I mean, he's just making the most of it. But to your point, it'd be great if Jaylen Wright would get 20 carries a game because he is just playing at another level right now. But until I see it, I'm not going to believe it because Tennessee likes to run with Dylan Sampson, Jabari Small, and it keeps them all fresh, guys, and I think that's been a big reason for the success.
Well, but I think it's one of those deals. You get in the second half of a football game and you get into a tight football game and you get a guy who's hot.
Kentucky.
You're going to ride him. Well, but Jaylen couldn't go in the second half. He's throwing up on the sideline. He's got a foot deal. That's why Dylan Sampson was in there in the fourth quarter. That wasn't okay, Jaylen, you've done enough for today. We're going to go with Dylan Sampson to get his numbers up. I think if you get into that scenario where you've got to have it, I do think you'll see the yards, the carries go up. They just haven't really been in that situation for the most part of the year.
We need to work out like a deal like that, after the 2-minute drill where we do some kind of cool handshake deal.
Do you think I've got enough coolness to have a handshake about me?
I'd like to think everybody's got just a little bit.
I do not.
Here's the question. Will Brent have a different one for all of us?
No, I can't remember that much either.
I'll tell you what I do remember from last week's game is another efficient game from Joe Milton. Through the air, completing balls at a high clip, and Rob hitting guys in stride.
The last 2 weeks, and really the first half at Alabama, he's been excellent. I mean, you just take the Kentucky and UConn games. He's 28 of 34 passing. He's thrown for 4 touchdowns. He's had 0 turnovers and 0 interceptions in the last 3 games. Now, he got strip sacked at Alabama, but he was since that Texas A&M game or at least I was like, you can't win with that guy at the SEC. When Heupel basically just resorted to throwing screen passes all game. I take my hat off to him. He has clearly made strides this last month.
Yeah, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. I don't have them memorized. But, Rob, you pointed this out in the 3-2-1 maybe a week or two ago. It's not just the efficiency of Joe Milton. It's the efficiency with an expanded passing game because it's not side to side anymore. The average yards per attempt has dramatically jumped since really that Texas A&M game and that UTSA game where it was under 5 at one point, I think. Now they're in the 12s, 11. I mean, they are throwing the ball more vertically down the field with Joe Milton, and he's being more efficient at it.
Going in Kentucky, I remember clearly, it was 6.3 yards per attempt, not per completion, but per attempt. And that jumped. It was over 10 against Kentucky. It was over 10 against UConn. That's a dramatic difference.
And I think he's moving around the pocket. You know, we talked about Nico. He got his opportunity, and that's the biggest takeaway from Nico. Joe Milton pocket presence, I think, has improved. I think he's stepping up. I think he's throwing off platform again that game against. I mean, UConn didn't really have to do an awful lot, but against Kentucky, man, he was throwing outside the pocket on the run and looking really good doing it. And maybe Austin, that's effective him. You know, having a run game and getting hit a little bit early. Whatever's happening, he's been playing some really good football the last 3 weeks.
Well, I did laugh. They went run, 82-yard touchdown, then to get the ball back, and it was like the second down, Joe had that kind of design run. It's like, okay, we got to get that out of the way. It's like, now, I mean, like Missouri's going to be sitting there on go, ready for him to run at some point, right? But I mean, like, if that's what it takes to kind of get him into the flow, then I think that you just got to keep doing it because I mean, Rob hit the nail on the head. Has looked dramatically improved over the last month. And it's not to say he was playing terrible early in the year, but I mean, you had a group of receivers that kind of had a little bit of a confidence problem. Brew McCoy goes out. He does have that Texas A&M game, which was his low mark of the season. But there have been other times, early in the year where he didn't really play that bad, but the results weren't there like they are right now.
Well, his situational awareness to me has gotten a lot better, and I go back to dropping your head to make sure you get to the sticks and running over a guy for a first down, sliding inbounds to keep the clock running, different things like that. Where I think Joe's made real improvement, but I don't think you can oversell the improvement the wide receivers have made the last couple of weeks in this offense as well. They are playing at a different level, and it all goes together, right? What we talk about all the time on defense, it's all 11, the pass rush and the back end, it's all tied together. In the passing game, it is all tied together, and Joe's getting more help than he did earlier.
And to his credit, Josh Heupel has said that every week. When he get the post-game question about Joe Milton or the Monday question about Joe Milton, it was always, 11 guys around him got to play better. I mean, he wasn't making excuses for Joe, but he was very quick to point out anytime, not get a lot of help here. Got to, pass protection has to be better. But to your point, Chaz Nimrod, Caleb Webb, and Dante Thornton the last couple of weeks, guys are making plays that weren't earlier.
Defensively, Tennessee, it's all about getting home. And I will maintain, Missouri's going to get yards. Mm-hmm. How many times does Tennessee bend but not break, force field goal opportunities? Those type of things. Because I do think Missouri can move it between the 20s, but how many touchdowns do the Tigers score, Eric?
Yeah, you need to have that mindset, that bend but not break. I mean, Brady Cook's having a great year. Luther Burden, who is officially deemed questionable on a Tuesday by Eli Drinkwitz, he's going to play. He's having a great year. Cody Schrader, the running back, is having a great year. How do you stop it all? Well, it all starts with the run. That's what Josh Heupel said earlier this week on Monday. You're not going to completely shut him down, but if you can limit him like you've limited Ray Davis, then you can totally focus on the aerial attack, and you're playing with some more confidence. We'll see. You're going to have some third down stops. You're going to have some fourth and short stops potentially. Trade sixes for threes, and I think that's how you can win this football game. And at points in time, Tennessee's defense has been good at that. Tennessee's defense has been good at getting after the passer. You need to not only affect the passer, but you need to get home, as you mentioned a couple times this week, something that hasn't been accustomed to the last couple of weeks.
I think first down numbers, can you win first down, early downs, Rob, and force them into third and longer situations where maybe play action is not as effective? And the other thing, too, Missouri's had a bunch of splash plays. They've had a bunch of explosives this year. Tennessee hasn't given up many, but when they have, they've cost them. Yeah. Florida in a long run, Alabama to start the second half. They can't have that kind of bust in this game against this Tiger offense.
And Missouri really wants to be balanced, and I think that it lends itself to those chunk plays because they make you play honest. Tennessee's been great at getting people behind the sticks, one of the best in the country in tackles for losses. We talked about the sacks. That's dried up the past couple of weeks, but they're still third in the SEC in that department. Generating negative plays, I think, is huge in this game. Missouri's very good at protecting the passer.
Tennessee and Missouri coming up on Saturday at 3:30 on CBS. We do thank Sam Pittman for that, as Eric and I will be doing the Saturday morning travel and then an early Sunday morning return. We appreciate you, Sam Pittman, helping us us two on the end here get back safely. For Eric Kane, Rob Lewis, and Brent Hubbs, I'm Austin Price for the Rocky Top Roundtable.